do this. You're gonna have a great day. You got a good day. Let's crush it. You're gonna be super productive. You got this, champ. You got this, Brandon. Come on.
What's up, everybody? It's a birthday pod today. For those who don't know, we're recording this on November 4th, which is my birthday. This is my birthday hat, but I didn't really have... I wanted, like, one of the triangle ones. I was looking for them at the dollar store, because I told you before we started I was going to get two, but they didn't have them. They only had, like, the happy birthday, like, tiaras. And I wasn't trying to do that. So I found this for myself. I got this with like a DoorDash order one time, so I sadly didn't have any for you.
Dude, it's your day, man.
Well, your birthday was yesterday though. So
yeah,
like
it was.
That's the fun part about the Hurt Handbook. We were born one day apart.
We're the same age now, all that good stuff.
Yeah, dude. 23, officially reaching Unk status.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Jordan
so funny,
year,
though.
Dude, we're going to make this the greatest year of our lives in the Hurt Handbook yet.
Let's hope so. That's for sure. I was just thinking this, too. Like, when I eventually post shorts from this, it's going to be fucking hilarious because people are going to be like, why the hell is he wearing a crown? Because, like, you're not wearing one and I'm just happy. It makes it look pretty rough. But that should be interesting when the time comes. But that's not the point of today. We're here to talk about UFC Edmonton. And, dude, I forgot my... I gotta bring it, dude. In mid-pod, set change. The Canadian maple syrup. Remember this?
Yeah, let me see that.
Here, I gotta make sure we got this in view on the camera.
Ontario.
Where do we want to put that? Let's put it here. Yeah. I got this from my old job. One of my coworkers, he used to go there all the time, so he brought one of those back for me. And people know this if they've been watching us for a while, but that is the best syrup I've ever tasted, by far. So,
yeah, I think we definitely have to take a trip up to Canada someday. Just to maybe like explore or whatever, but. Hell, even if it was for a UFC event.
That would be cool. We'd probably be good going to, like, Toronto or Quebec or something like that. Because those are closer to our area. Man. At least I think so. I was telling you before the pod, I didn't even know how to spell Edmonton before today. Because I'm, like, looking on the outline, and it has, like, the little squiggly underline under Edmonton. I'm like, I know this is right. And then obviously I'm not. So.
Do you recall, like, at all the last time UFC had a card in Edmonton?
No, I mean, they very well could have in the past couple of years maybe, but I always forget like when they go to Canada like which city they're in, especially like too because they have some pay-per-views and obviously those aren't like UFC city events. It'll just be like a numbered card. So like for example like Strickland versus DDP in the beginning of the year, like I forget what city that was in, but I just remember it was in Canada. But yeah, man, the action from Canada was definitely huge, too, for the flyweight division, both for the men and the women's. And I say without further ado, we hop into that main event, talking about Brandon Moreno and Amir Albazi. And Brandon Moreno looked better than ever in this fight against Amir Albazi, winning via unanimous decision, 2 50-45s and a 49-46. And he makes it clear he wants to get his title back. I think he knows he's still a little bit away from that, with his history with Pantoja and all that, but this performance is the type of performance that gets you back into the conversation, especially at a division like flyweight,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, I mean, if we want to talk about just afterwards and what the win means for Brandon Moreno, I mean, if we're gonna do another fight with Brandon Royval, it's like, it's at the point where in a way, it's like this whole division, I feel like, has so much intel on Brandon Moreno, and just, he's obviously not, it's not like he's going to be getting any younger or anything. So, I think, for instance, like how he fought this fight and just really putting an emphasis on the jab and, keeping range with Amir Albazi and, I think he just had a very just well put together balanced game plan, to be honest. I don't think he had to do too much. I think it's just at the point in time, Brandon Moreno is still easily one of the top fighters in the flyweight division, and Amir Albazi had his work cut out for him pretty much. So that's what you saw there. But if once again he beats Royval and then gets another fight with Alexander Pantoja, I mean, they're talking about. In a way, I feel like Brandon Moreno is gonna set either for one way or the other. He's gonna set a bunch of sort of flyweight records by the time his career is done.
I mean, isn't it crazy? I mean, you talked about the intel that the division has on him at this point. Like, it shows how great that he really is, that he's still able to beat the next generation of flyweights and with relative ease most of the time. And, that last fight with Royval was a really, really close one from what we remember. And obviously he had already beaten Royval before that. And you think about all the other guys that Moreno's fought over the past few years, especially in this time where he's been a contender and champion. And Amir Albazi, to talk about him a little bit, this was really a huge fight for him, even though it's been a while since he last fought. And I put it in the outline at first that I kind of thought he fumbled this in a sense because, with a win against someone like Brandon Moreno, who's obviously one of the biggest stars in the UFC right now, at least in my opinion, but especially when you think about when he was champ, how much they pushed him, he's definitely a big star for the promotion, especially in Mexico. But Amir Albazi had the chance to steal that hype and kind of take himself above the others at flyweight and maybe fight the winner of Pantoja versus Asakura. But he couldn't do that, and you kind of feel bad for him because like I said, I didn't even realize it's been basically a year and a half since we've last seen Amir Albazi, and you have to take that into some consideration. But either way, it's just it's a tough outcome because there was so much to gain for Albazi in this fight, and now it just feels like with a loss like this, he's kind of back down to square one in a sense, and he's going to have to get a couple more good wins.
I think if he had maybe a bit more, I guess I don't want to say urgency he was sleepwalking or whatever in the first 2 rounds, but I think if he was the one who was able to set the pace and maybe control the center more, that it at least would have been a closer fight than what it was. Maybe the judges think for a little longer, but I mean, Brandon Moreno, he knew what this fight meant for him too. I mean, it honestly did mean nearly as much as it did for Albazi, which is interesting because if Albazi were to get the win here, then he's probably in first in line for the title shot after Pantoja defends. And so,
or if Asakura won.
Or yeah, if Asakura's random, but yeah, I was saying that since Pantoja's the champ, he's defending anyway. So
I think if Asakura wins that fight in the division, that's where it really gets crazy because then you have a guy who hasn't fought any of these.
Yeah,
fighters,
so
really...
I guess we can maybe spark that conversation if Pantoja wins.
It's probably worse for Moreno.
Yeah.
And if Asakura wins, you could argue maybe Moreno could get a shot right off the bat.
Yeah.
Or maybe have to fight someone like Royval in a trilogy to have the true title eliminator. But then Kai Kara France is still there too. Flyweight, it's so weird because there's so many different contenders, but it feels like we've seen them all fight each other already, which is why this new blood in the division has been pretty good. And for Moreno, though, this has really been a legendary performance for his career because his boxing looked better than ever in this fight. A lot of jab hook combos in there. He was doing pretty well.
Yeah, he was loading up. I don't think he was trying to hide that overhand right at all. I think he was just pumping the jab. So, just trying to get a feel for Albazi's right. I mean, he's so good with that jab anyways, but yeah. I mean, the overhand right is what was lurking the entire fight. I feel like could have put out Amir Albazi at any time, but I don't think Albazi really got dropped much in this fight anyways. I think you had a few takedowns and whatnot. I don't think Albazi really got taken down, but I know Albazi went for a few takedowns and Brandon Moreno had the sprawl towards the end, and I mean, Brandon Moreno's just 2 steps ahead the entire fight. So, yeah, it's kind of what you come to expect from Moreno at this point in time. I mean, especially when he's fighting down, I feel like so. It's cool to see that he's still proving that he is one of the top flyweights that UFC has to offer, clearly. So
Yeah, definitely.
he'll fight for the title anytime still. So
Yeah, and like I said, with his following too, especially in Mexico with the whole country behind him, it's not as hard for him to get a big fight or a title shot when the UFC is kind of like unsure of who to put in there because he does have that star power. And like even I remember when me and technical director Jim went to Las Vegas in 2021. That was when he was champ the first time, and like people love this dude. It's amazing to watch. Like I think it's just because he doesn't take himself too seriously. Like when you look at a lot of other UFC fighters who like talk crap or they're like ultra stoic and serious, and then you got a guy like Brandon Moreno who's like he builds Legos, collects Funko Pops, and he's just like a funny guy. And I remember like we met him to that week at the MGM Grand because it was the night of UFC 264 and they were doing all these meet and greets and stuff, and he was super cool even then. So like he endears himself with the fans is what my point is what that I'm trying to make here. That's for sure. But so unless you have something for this fight, I figure we'll move on to the other big flyweight fight on this card.
nah, just I think even with the dominant effort throughout all 5 rounds, still it's still a really exciting division to watch. I thought Albazi could have honestly like withered away at any time, but he's still I think like I said in the beginning of the fight, it wasn't I think just the fight just got away like really pretty much the third round on anyway, so there wasn't much that Albazi could really put together, like, and even in that heading into that 5th round, in the back of your head you obviously know that Albazi needs an epic like he needs legit an epic finish to happen to be able to win, and so you're still not really counting him out in that sense, but yeah, Barry Moreno he's still a complete package, so that boxing is super fun to watch, to be honest, and I would love to see him flatten someone with that overhand right someday. So
yeah, I do love watching Moreno fight. He does have like a very satisfying style because he's really good just all around too. Like we didn't really see as much of it in this fight, but like his grappling's usually pretty good too. He has good submissions, especially from like back mount and stuff like that. So I think that Brandon Moreno is a guy who will always kind of be in that title conversation as long as he can keep winning fights against the up and coming and current top flyweights, that's for sure. But
yeah, he's not one to really play with his food, and feel his opponent out.
He loves putting the pressure in the pace.
Exactly, he's gonna bring that fight out of his opponent all the time. So
yeah, gotta respect it. But let's move on to this co-main, man, because this was a big one in the women's flyweight division. So we had Erin Blanchfield versus Rose Namajunas, and Erin Blanchfield, she kind of stole it in the championship rounds from Thug Rose. She won the fight via unanimous decision, all 48-47s. They all scored it the exact same way. And the story of this fight, to me at least, is just the first couple rounds, Erin just didn't really look great on the feet. And Rose was doing a good job at, like popping the jab, popping quick combinations and moving out of the way. And we know she's great at that. But then in the last 3 rounds, Rose kind of tried to mix it up more with her strategy, which didn't really make much sense, especially when she was doing well on the feet. But the thing with Rose, too, is just, especially lately, some of her game plans, the way that she doesn't have any urgency anymore like she kind of used to when she was winning these fights at strawweight for the title and stuff like that. She just doesn't have that sense of urgency anymore, and I think part of it is because obviously Trevor Whitman is no longer in her corner, and I think that her game hasn't evolved as much without him, and that just tells you how great of a coach that he is. But for Thug Rose, like, when you're not going for the finish like that, that's how fights slip away from you. Like we were talking about Raquel Pennington when she fought Juliana Pena. That was kind of like why that fight was close, even though Pennington seemed like she maybe could have won that fight. But, for this one, when you're trying to grapple with Erin Blanchfield, who's a more natural flyweight and is known as being a really good grappler, it just didn't make much sense to me when she was doing so well on the feet against Erin. And yeah, she lost those last 3 rounds and lost her the fight. So
Yeah, about Aaron Blanchfield. I still think this is somebody that um I won't even say like fans or whatnot, but I feel I think now it's gotten to a point where no one no one's gonna really be able to, I guess, deny her a title shot after. That's how I feel. I know she called out Alexa Grasso after, which is smart because I think I think if she did just straight up call out Valentina, then I think that would be a fight probably a lot longer to get, to be honest, and you don't want her sitting around and like waiting and stuff. So I mean, if you give her the former champion and you could have that headliner card um and she gets a win there and proves herself even more, then yeah, you've got a bona fide contender and a bona fide star on your hands. I think now, anyways, I think a lot of people are taking notice to it's obviously her wrestling, her grappling, which is extremely overwhelming and talented for anybody that steps across from her. So I mean, yeah, Rose definitely played into that wheelhouse a little bit too much in that third round and forward. Well, maybe not I think because when the further we got into the fight, I thought like Rose was just doing a more better job of not getting hit than she was really landing. I think that's probably what it was and why she wanted to switch it up, because it's not like she really was landing with too much power on Aaron Blanchfield anyways.
but that's the problem with her though. Like especially lately, really since that Carla fight that everybody hates, including me, just to be fair. But like it just seems, like I said, like Rose's lack of urgency is gone. I mean, I remember when she fought Joanna the first time, when she had that crazy knockout, big upset at the time. Like she was pushing the action and she was like ready with that overhand right. She knew she had it and she was going for a finish. Lately, it just seems like she's not going for finishes. It looks like she's just trying to outpoint, and that doesn't work against certain fighters, especially a good grappler.
That's exactly how this fight went. Yeah.
Yeah, like cause Erin is the type of fighter who can smother you against the cage or on the ground for 2-3 minutes and maybe not do much, but that steals rounds away when you're getting controlled like that, and especially when Rose wasn't landing as much in the later rounds because she just seems more tentative in there, and she's trying to like win fights by like feinting and landing like quick shots and little combinations and moving out. But at the top, that's just not really, that doesn't really seem like it's that effective at this point.
Yeah, what it was Aaron Blanchfield was she was getting hit in order to land on Rose too.
Yeah.
And then Rose, I just thought, was doing a good job of moving her head off the center line and creating angles and just landing that way. But even then, it's not like that many combos were being set up, and she was trying to really go for that finish. So she switched it up, and it didn't play to her favor at all.
No.
That's how good of a grappler Aaron Blanchfield is. I mean, when Aaron Blanchfield like pulled her backwards when she had her back and all that, like I thought honestly the fight was probably gonna end like at that moment. She was gonna be able to tap her or something. But on the ground too, when Rose had Aaron in her half guard. I mean, Aaron was trying that. She's the one that was really like pushing the urgency, I think, and trying to land ground and pound. And I mean, the crowd obviously wasn't into it. They were booing and stuff. But Aaron, she was trying, dude.
It's fair. It wasn't the most exciting fight in the world anyway. But
I think she was really trying to go for something, big and exciting, and just like really leave no stone unturned. So obviously, how the outcome of this fight, I think there's more to build on, and she's got full confidence that she'll get to her chance at the title sooner rather than later. And
she's also very young too. That's like worth noting. I think she's only 25, so like she's already beating top flyweights at this young age, and she has a lot of time to improve that striking, at least enough to get to a point where she can stand with the better strikers in the division and still make it into a fight where she's on the ground with people or holding them up against the cage and landing clinch strikes, like things like that. As long as she can maintain on the feet and then bring it to her wheelhouse, Erin Blanchfield definitely has a strong future at 125 and in the UFC in general. That's for sure.
Yeah, a fight with Grosso is definitely a really good stepping stone. I feel like.
Yeah, I like that call out though. I really do, because like Grosso is good on the feet, but she's also like she could brawl at times on the feet. She kind of has like a similar boxing style to Brandon Moreno actually, in the sense that she kind of like can move forward and she's slick with her combinations, but at times she can get drawn into a bit of a brawl. I think if Erin can make that into a dogfight and not get picked apart from the outside, kind of like she was in moments in this fight, it's definitely a fight that she could win at the end of the day if she takes Grosso down and can do what we know she can do on the ground against her. So I'm definitely curious to see how it looks, that's for sure. And I hope they make it. It makes sense. I don't know why they wouldn't make a fight like that, because Grosso's in a position where there's not really a clear opponent for her next. So it's like when you got somebody calling her out, that's a fight that, like you said, could be a main event of a fight night again. So I definitely hope that they do that. That's for sure. And the last thing I want to talk about with flyweights, because we were talking about it before the pod, and we should bring it up real quick because it is technically UFC news. The Ultimate Fighter, the next season, it's going to be flyweights, as we've talked about this whole card, and welterweights. But for the flyweights, I feel like we gotta give our guy a shout out, a pitch. Carlos LOZOYA of Combat FC. He bounces back and forth, obviously, from flyweight and bantamweight. I mean, if you've seen our vlogs from when we've gone to Boston, you know who Carlos LOZOYA is. But if you don't, look his fights up. He's a really good fighter. And he's a 125er who's really good on the regional scene. And he's right there at the cusp of the UFC. I think everybody could agree on that. And now that we have a season of The Ultimate Fighter with flyweights, his ideal weight division, I really hope the UFC considers him, because he definitely deserves at least a shot at that. I really do. But just wanted to throw that one out there for sure, you know?
Yeah, I think it would open a lot of people's eyes to the kind of and even just like in general, that regional New England MMA fight style, you know, because we've seen it with guys like Rob Font, Calvin Kattar, all of that, and these are guys that are, you know, they get nothing but respect from UFC fans. And
I mean, even before them, like the old school days, Joe Lozon, Kenny Florian, Marcus Davis, guys like that, like there's a long fighting history from that area of New England, you know.
A lot of lineage there. And
Carlos is so good too all around. Like, he's good on the feet. He's a really good wrestler, and he can finish the fight really wherever it goes.
He'll be able to definitely connect with the fans and stuff, and it would be super cool to, you know, those Ultimate Fighter like interviews and stuff. A lot of people would see and learn a lot about him, and but I mean, you already know we're gonna be backing him the entire way. So
yeah, he's a good dude. Obviously, I had the interview with him right after Combat FC 8 and or wait, did I mess it?
No,
8,
Combat
FC.
Right?
Yeah, I know, because we've seen him fight twice, so I get like the numbers confused sometimes. Yeah, I get that with the UFC even sometimes. But the last Combat FC event, I interviewed Carlos after that. Really cool guy. And he's just a really good fighter, and I think more people should know about him, because he does deserve that big respect from the MMA community, because he's right there, man. He's right at the cusp. So I hope he gets a shot on TUF. Hopefully we can have a little bit of sway, you know. But now on to what we are going to be covering next week, and I think you'll agree, this is going to be a big week for the Hurt Handbook. So UFC Vegas 100 fight week. It's finally here. We've hyped it up so much. I can't believe it. I mean, main event, Neil Magny versus Carlos Prates, and then in the co-main event, I think it's the co-main event. I could be wrong about that, so I'm not actually going to... Let's change that. Main event, Neil Magny versus Carlos Prates, but then also on this card, Cody Garbrandt versus Miles Johns. And then also Renier de Ritter's UFC debut. If you guys are fans of One Championship, you know who this guy is already. Really good grappler, and he's been a champion there before, and he's always been someone that I've wanted to see in the UFC. And then his first fight now will be against Gerald Meerschaert, which is obviously a good grappler versus grappler matchup. Perfect test.
Hey, UFC, we know you're listening, so we're pitching. We're pitching for our Combat FC brethren here. Carlos LOZOYA, Jan Oliveira, Gerald Meerschaert can't get the job done here in this matchup.
Right, even if he can.
Even if he can at this point. Either way,
we can have
these
either
two
way.
guys deserve contracts with UFC. So
yeah, because I mean, hey, Carlos LOZOYA, like we just mentioned, really good flyweight, deserves a shot on Tough, and Jan Oliveira coming off a huge knockout, first round knockout. He's wanted that fight with Gerald Meerschaert. Maybe he'll get it after this one, or maybe they'll give him someone else. But that's another guy who deserves to be in the UFC. That's for sure. It's cool to see like these people from Combat FC we've watched grow over the past couple of years, and now they're right on the cusp of the number one promotion in the sport. So I hope that both of those guys get a shot. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And real quick before we go to, because we've been hyping up UFC Vegas 100 so much, we've talked about it a billion times about how we kind of want to do something special for it. I am working on a surprise video for you guys. I won't say what it is yet. It's coming down to the wire, I won't lie, because these past couple of weeks I just had stuff going on. I got a little sick, so I couldn't edit as much as I wanted to. At one point I couldn't record the audio I needed to record because I was talking all nasally and stuff like that. But I'm working on a special video for this card. I think it's going to be a fun one for you guys that'll go right along the lines of what we've been talking about with UFC Vegas 100. You know, obviously, we've made a lot of fuss about this one, and I think that this will be a fitting special video this week. And I'm hoping that I'll get it done by the middle of the week so I can put it out on Thursday. But if it's not out on Thursday, it'll definitely be out on Friday. I'm going to try my absolute best to get that done. I really am. So, yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that. Pay attention to the social media pages, the Hurt Handbook on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I'm sure we'll have some announcements on some of those platforms, if not all of them. So that'll be fun. Look out for that. Then after that, look out for the pod next week covering the action on this monumental UFC Apex event. So we'll see you guys then.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rob. Happy birthday to you and me.
One day late. All right. We'll
Thanks
see
for
you guys.
watching, everyone.
Feel just like a superstar. Doing all these drugs, I don't think I'm gonna see tomorrow. Living fast.